Welcome to Laura's Cookbook Corner. I'm going to be bringing out my Crockpot that I bought in 1976, dust it off, and cook me something out of my dinner time easy slow cooker recipes. More than 400 fix and forget it flavorful recipes. Now you can't beat that. This one happens to be from Better Homes and Gardens. Huh, really? Interesting. Stop the bus, hold the train. Hit the traffic light to red. I could let this go through. This 7-minute video of cooking beans in my crock pot with vegetable stock and say, oh, how delicious it was. But let me tell you folks, yeah, I'm not smarter than a 5th grader, and I keep trying one thing over and over again, and I don't understand why I do it. Maybe because I'm too stubborn, but you cannot do that in the crock pot and beans. Now, if someone can do it with a dried soaked bean that's been soaked overnight, and they can put it in their crock pot and their beans will cook fully, or will they come out hard like marbles or pebbles, causing you to want to just throw that crock pot out the window? I wonder. No, I don't wonder. I know. I went through the recipes. I have a minimal selection of things that I could use for this, and so I want to cook with what I have and what I grew or harvested from the garden. So I'm going to make some substitutions. That is what all good cooks do. They substitute. If you don't have what the recipe called for, you can substitute it. And by George, it may taste even better. Yes, indeed. Tuscan bean soup with spinach. I don't have any spinach, but I have daikon leaves from my daikon radish that I can use in place of the spinach. I have vegetable broth that I prepared months ago, and I froze it. So I don't have any quick cooking tapioca, but I have barley, so I can replace the tapioca with the barley. The tapioca is only there for a thickening agent anyway. So I just have to step in here and correct. Why did my beans not fully cook after they were pre-soaked overnight, and I put them in the crock pot, and they did not come out like before? They've done it before, so I have muted this video to let you know why. I've already researched it years ago, but obviously I forgot. Well, go figure. Well, you can't add chlorinated water to your soaking water. You need distilled water to soak your beans in. Number 2, you need fresh beans. If they're old, they'll take longer to cook or may never get soft because they won't fully rehydrate themselves if they're too old. Well, if you buy beans from a store or, wherever you get it from, there's another mistake going in. You see that vegetable stock I used? I went ahead and put the acid-loving tomato paste into the stock. You can't do that either. It stops your beans from cooking. Do not, Laura, add acid foods while you're trying to cook your beans. Your best bet was to fully cook the beans first, not in the crock pot, and then add them later to my soup base that I was making. I also forgot to add my greens. Yeah, I did. This was just a if it didn't turn out so terrible, it would be comical. But it's tasty if you don't eat the beans because they're not fully cooked. They actually felt more cooked after they were soaked than they did when they went through the crock pot. Yeah. Has anybody else had trouble cooking beans like that? Like, I followed the recipe. The recipe didn't say pre-cook your beans and put fully cooked beans into the crock pot. It didn't say hold back the tomato sauce because it called for canned tomatoes, but I didn't have any, so I used tomato paste. It's still acid. No, they didn't say don't do it. They said do it. Yeah. Well, they don't know what the heck they're talking about unless other people can do it, and I don't know why I can't. The crockpot gods hate me, or my crockpot hates me. Do you think my crockpot hates me, folks? I don't really know, but I keep trying. I tried to make chili. I don't know how many times, and the kidney beans will not cook, and they've been soaked. They've been not soaked. They've been, I've tried making Boston brown beans in my crockpot because I used to make them in the oven, and they'd take all day, and they'd be delicious. I never could get the darn beans to cook. And then I thought, oh, I'll be smart. No, I'm not smart than a 5th grader. I put the uncooked, the hard beans from the Boston brown beans. You might be asking yourself, why didn't I use the Instant Pot, which would have alleviated all of this trouble? The reason being is I love using my crock pot. It brings back memories. Another pot, put it in the oven. Well, once you mess it up, you can't fix it that way. No, you can't. Now, you can add a little baking soda, I read, but You don't want to add too much or it'll go mushy. So, no, you got to start out properly first. So, I would say fail, 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 fail. But I'm going to try and recoup the beans by straining them out and cooking them on the stove. A little extra water. Forgot the barley, but I can add the barley when it's warming back up because I'm going to cook it a little bit more. I noticed that it was on for 4 hours. It said 6 to 8 hours on low or 4 to 6 hours on high. There can be trials and there can be errors. Errors? Errors. Errors. Mistakes. Misgivings. Screw-ups. Failures. No, massive failures. Yes, that's the word for what I was doing 2 days ago. So, I was going to try and fix it. There was no recouping. So, I thought let's start over again. Sort the beans to find no rocks. Wash the beans. You can use that wash water on your plants. Yes, indeed, you can. Now I'm going to bring this up to a boil, and I'm going to add the beans to the water. Now, once the water boils, I am going to degas the beans. Hopefully, this is not an old wives' tale, that it actually works. So in goes the beans into the pool. Yes, indeedy. And then, once it comes up to a boil, which only took, I believe, 7.5 minutes. On my other unit, it took over 20. Yes, I'm loving my induction cooker, stovetop cooker. So once it comes to a boil, you add a teaspoon of baking soda. Let it bubble up and give it a stir and cook it for a little bit till the bubbles dissipate and they are no longer there. I left them a little bit longer because I really wanted to degas these beans. I love beans, but sometimes they don't love me. And it's not so much the rooty tooty noise that people make, it's the stomach pain that they can sometimes give me. Yeah, I wanted to do away with that. I've tried a potato before and that didn't work. That removes salt from your dishes if you added too much salt. That does work. You put a potato if you've added too much salt into something, but anyhow, so I did that. And then I remove it from the boiling water. I rinse them really well. And then I wanted to saute in some oil, some onions, bell pepper that I had frozen in my freezer, and some celery that I grew or am growing indoors since November. And I love it because I'm able to harvest whenever I want the celery flavor. Like I've said a million times, the flavor's in the leaves, so be careful how much you add. So after it's sauteed a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and add the carrots that I've chopped up to the pot to give it some flavor. Let it mingle along with the flavors. And I had chopped up some collard greens. And I thought, ooh, that'd be good. What I didn't count on is, if you want to cook collard greens, folks, and you want them really, really tender and not chewy, it's going to take 2 hours for those babies to cook. Yes, it will. And don't forget 1 tablespoon of vinegar and 1 tablespoon of sugar when you're cooking your collard greens. It balances out nicely. So I chose not to put my beans in. I did my beans in my Instant Pot for 30 minutes. After I'd rinsed them, I added to the Instant Pot, set it on, and cooked my beans, and they cook beautifully. Now I have spices. You can add whatever you want. I have curry, garlic powder, onion powder, Italian, all kinds of stuff. Greek seasoning, little pepper, some parsley. You can have whatever you desire. You are the master of spices in your kitchen. That's what I say. So once it had sauteed for a bit, I like to add the spices to wake them up. Yeah, because they're just sitting in the bottle all dull and sleepy, and they haven't been doing much, and you add them to that hot pot, and I tell you, they come awake really quickly. And it only takes a few seconds because you don't want to burn them in the hot pot. So I'm going to add 6 cups of water because the recipe called for 6 cups of vegetable stock. Well, we all know what happened to my vegetable stock. Yeah, I don't have any more. So that's why I had so many spices to use that to give the flavor. Because I could have used beef bouillon or chicken bouillon, but I don't want the sodium. I'm having issues with too much salt in my feet. And it's hot. summertime and my feet tend to swell, so I try and pull back on the salt. So I'm adding some pepper to my pot, and given with all of the spices that I usually add, I am fine without using any kind of broth. I need to get some, that was a teaspoon of salt though, in this big pot. Yeah, which is still less than bouillon, because bouillon, one little packet of bouillon is like 700 and something mils of sodium, and it's only good for 3/4 of a cup, and I've got 6 cups, so you do the math. No, I don't want chicken bouillon. So I decided to add a little bit of crushed chili peppers. I like my chili peppers, but I don't want them too hot. And as it turns out, this was beautiful. It was just enough for that amount of water. And plus, once the beans go in and all the other spices, it was going to be fine. So I just knew this was going to turn out. I was not going to put this in the crock pot. I'm done with the crock pot for this particular. And I started a different recipe anyway. This is a Mediterranean pea bean dish. So anyhow, I let it cook for 2 hours to get my collard greens fully cooked. I looked at them and I went, yes, they look beautiful and they look tender. So it was time to add the beans that are already pre-cooked beautifully and rinsed and everything. When it came out of my Instant Pot, I rinsed them again. I wasn't taking any chances. So I just wanted to warm it up, but not too much. It will thicken with the beans. So I had it on there about 20 minutes, and I just recently turned the heat off, and it's all ready for dinner. It's 4:30 now. I'm going to upload this video, and then I'm going to be eating beans and white rice. Well, dinner is finally finished, and it looks delicious and smells even better. I think it's time for a taste test. What do you think, folks? You think I should taste it? I think so. Oh, yes. Let me give it a taste. Oh, mercy me. It's heat hot. Oh, I forgot to blow on the spoon. When you're looking through a camera and you're trying to do something, ooh, but boy, oh boy, was that good. I think that means another taste, but I'm going to blow on the spoon this time. Look at the beans, perfectly cooked. And I threw out the crock pot. No, I didn't. I cooked this on the stove. My induction stovetop cooker. Oh my goodness, that tastes good. Look at those collard greens, perfectly cooked. Nice and silky smooth. Don't forget to add a tablespoon of vinegar and a tablespoon of sugar to your cooking liquid when you're cooking your collard greens, if that's the sort of thing you like. Let's give it a try. Oh my goodness, that was so good. I wish you guys were here. If you like this sort of southern dish, you would totally enjoy this. And hopefully all the different steps I went through to degas the beans hopefully will work. But, you know, I won't know until this evening or tomorrow. But I have faith in the baking soda will work and the complete rinsing over and over of the beans. It wasn't a total failure. It wasn't the beginning, but it isn't now. Welcome to Laura's Cookbook Corner. Tonight I'll be using my slow cooker. I'm dusting it off and bringing it out. No, I'm bringing it out and dusting it off. Yeah, get that right, Laura. That's just wrong. Oh,